In September 2021, I traveled to the very north of Sweden, the Arctic Circle, to solo hike the famous Kungsleden trail. I had 10 days to hike from Kvikkjokk to Abisko. So how was it? Let's find out. Walk with me the Kungsleden trail. There are several so-called emergency shelters on Kungsleden. They are great for a lunch break, as you'll have a shelter from the wind and a bench to sit on. My first shelter even had a fire on, but that usually is not the case. To get to Akte, you need to cross a lake, which can be done by a private motorboat or by rowing a free boat. I didn't dare to row, and there was only one boat on my side, so I opted for a luxury option, the private motorboat. In Akte, I stayed in a fjällstuga, which is a Swedish mountain hut. Typically, fjällstugas are very basic. There is no electricity or heating, but the stove heats the room pretty well. In September there are way less people, so I enjoyed the whole room to myself. Those amazing views were from a detour hike to Skirfe, and yes, it was snowing up there. After this amazing detour, I headed towards Sitojaure to my next mandatory lake crossing. Mind you, you really need to call for motorboat in advance, otherwise they just don't know that you're waiting on the other side. The next day views were not that spectacular, mainly because the clouds were so low and it was windy. The logistics from Soltolokta are a bit complicated, as the trail is separated by a lake and a 32-kilometer road, requiring to take a boat and a bus. In high season, there is a great connection. However, as I was hiking in the end of the season, the bus was going to pick me up only in the afternoon. By now you saw that a good weather here should not be taken for granted. That's why I took the boat and got a lift by a car almost all the way to Vakotavare, where Kungsleden continues to the north. My last mandatory lake crossing was done again on a motorboat, as there was only one rowing boat on my side. Hikers always need to leave one boat on each side, so it would have meant rowing 3 times, and alone, as nobody else was crossing the lake. So no thanks. And the clouds are hanging low today, obscuring the views. A little bit of snow, still no rain. The highest point of the trail, Jekta Pass, greeted me with ice everywhere. This is a very hostile place with crazy winds. I could not and did not linger there very long. An emergency shelter at the top was a lifesaver for sure. Approaching Abisko meant heading down from the views with white peaks to those of colorful forests. I could really feel that I'm close. I spent my last dinner on the trail next to a river, soaking in the views I'll be leaving behind. I'm definitely going to miss you, Kungsleden. The last morning was a surprise, as it froze at night. Instead of lush reds and yellows, the fields now took the shades of blue and purple. The trail clearly wanted to push me to hike faster, and it definitely helped. And we're done.